The galaxy quivered before the Mizarian Empire, a brutal regime that raped and enslaved worlds with merciless cruelty. All races cowered to their unstoppable military might, bowing to serve their new masters. Except for one, humanity. Zephyrus, once a thriving hub of commerce, now lay in smoldering ruins. Craters pockmarked the planet's surface where majestic cities had stood just days before. The surviving inhabitants huddled in subterranean bunkers, praying the orbital bombardment had finally ceased. In high orbit, the obsidian hull of a Mizarian dreadnought blotted out the stars. 100 decks of armored bulkheads and redundant shields made the warship nigh invulnerable. Swarms of fighter craft buzzed around it like angered hornets defending their nest. On the dreadnought's bridge, Commander Kalar smirked at the viewscreen depicting the ravaged world below. Another species brought to heel, another civilization enslaved, their resources and technology now property of the Mizarian Empire. Kalar had overseen dozens of such conquests in his decades of service. Zephyrus had taken mere hours to pacify. "Commander, unidentified contact dropping out of hyperspace at the system's edge," called out the sensor operator, an edge of nerves in her voice. It's a human vessel, sir. Scans show it to be an antique freighter, minimal armaments. They're on an intercept course." Kalar's smirk soured into a scowl. He had vanquished fleets of warships and crushed armies on the battlefield, but something about this lone human ship chilled his blood. Every Mizarian child knew of humanity's unpredictability, the way they charged into hopeless battles with reckless courage, how they could snatch victory from certain defeat again and again. "Hail them," Kalar growled. "Let us see what the hairless apes want." The viewscreen flickered, resolving into the imagine of a single human male. Scars crisscrossed his face. Cold steel-colored eyes stared out with fierce intensity. The human's name tag read, Adam Gray. "This is Commander Keeler of the Mizarian Empire," Kalar said. "Your species is not unknown to us, human. I demand you power down your ship and prepare to be boarded. If you resist, I will reduce your vessel to molten slag." "I don't think so," Adam replied, his voice level and assured. "Zephyrus is under Terran Empire protection. I'm here to make sure you never threaten these people again." Kalar laughed, a harsh bark of derision. This lone human must be insane to challenge the might of the Mizarian war machine. And yet, his gaze remained steadfast, unwavering despite the overwhelming odds. A cold tingle of unease ran down Keller's spine. He had a sinking feeling that this human was going to be a much bigger problem than he appeared. Adam's very presence felt like a promise of danger. Kalar had a choice: engage Adam and risk catastrophe, or withdraw from Zephyrus, turning tail before a single unarmed freighter. The bridge fell silent, waiting for Kalar's orders with bated breath. Every Mizarian aboard suddenly felt an instinctive fear, an evolutionary whisper of warning, the gut sense that this human might just be crazy enough to take on an empire and win. Kalar barely had time to process the human's words before Adam acted. He slammed a fist onto his freighter's console, activating a cloaking device scavenged from a Mizarian derelict years prior. Adam's ship shimmered and vanished from the warship's sensors, leaving only empty space where it had been. Kalar stared slack-jawed at the viewscreen, stunned by the sudden disappearance. "Where did he go? Find that ship now!" His crew scrambled to obey, but it was too late. Adam had already exploited the momentary confusion to maneuver his freighter into the dreadnought's sensor blind spot underneath the hull. The human cut engines, drifting silently, invisible to detection. Adam hastily donned a pressure suit, slung a plasma rifle over his shoulder, and exited the airlock. Mag boots clamped to the dreadnought's armored skin. He dashed across the hull until he reached a maintenance hatch. Unholstering the plasma rifle, he dialed the power to maximum and began cutting through the thick alloy, molten metal dripping away to expose the airlock within. Alarms shrieked through the Mizarian ship as the outer airlock door slid open. Adam charged through, rifle leveled, gravity boots allowing him to move swiftly down the corridor as if he were in normal gravity. "The human is aboard," Kalar bellowed, veins bulging with rage at the intruder's sheer audacity. I want him found and killed immediately. Squads of armored Mizarian soldiers converged on Adam's location, plasma fire scorching the bulkheads. But the human was always one step ahead, seeming to anticipate their movements. He ducked into alcoves, moments before troops rounded corners, slipped into maintenance tubes, and crawled through ductwork, using his knowledge of standard Mizarian ship layouts to evade capture. Kellar watched the chaos unfolding on the security feeds. Wherever Adam went, he left a trail of destroyed security cameras and sabotaged systems in his wake. But he wasn't fighting his way to the bridge or the engine room. His destination soon became clear: the central computer core. The human emerged from a vent shaft, dispatching the core's guards with precise headshots. He sprinted to the primary terminal and began hacking through the security, fingers flying over the keypad. "He's in the computer core," Kellar shouted. "Stop him before—" Adam hit the execute command, and suddenly every screen on the ship flashed with his scarred visage. When he spoke, his voice boomed from every speaker. "Peoples of the galaxy, heed my words. The Mizarians are not your saviors, but your oppressors. They have raped and pillaged your worlds and enslaved your people. But no longer. The time has come to rise up and fight for your freedom. Even now, the truth of their cruelty spreads far and wide. The Mizarians are not invincible. They can be beaten. I swear to you, humanity will lead the charge to cast off the shackles of the Mizarian Empire forever." Kellar watched in mute horror as Adam's message played on a loop, broadcasting to every ship, every planet, every dark corner of the galaxy. This lone human had just sparked the flames of a rebellion that could bring the Empire crashing down. He had turned a simple skirmish into a fight for the very fate of Mizarian dominion. Red emergency lights pulsed as sirens wailed throughout the Mizarian dreadnought. Soldiers sprinted through smoke-choked corridors, barking orders to contain the chaos unleashed by Adam's broadcast. The human rebel darted from cover to cover, stolen plasma rifle flaring as he cut down the Mizarian guards foolish enough to stand in his way. Adam's mag boots clanged against the deck plates as he raced back towards his cloaked freighter. Just a few more junctions to cross, and he'd be home free. He rounded a corner at full sprint, only to skid to a halt as a figure stepped out from an alcove to block his path. It was Kellar, the Mizarian commander's face twisted with rage, a crackling plasma sword gripped in his fist. You hairless ape, you'll pay for what you've done." Adam raised his rifle, but Kellar was too fast. The plasma sword sliced through the gun's barrel like it was made of butter. Adam tossed the sparking remains aside and drew his own blade, a meter-long shard of ultralight alloy that thrummed with barely restrained power. The two warriors circled each other in the narrow corridor, weapons humming and sparking as they clashed again and again. Kellar was stronger and more skilled, his every blow backed by decades of experience. But Adam fought with desperate energy, blocking and parrying like a man possessed. "You fool!" Kellar spat as they locked blades. "You think your little message will change anything? The Mizarian Empire is eternal. We will always be your masters." Adam headbutted Kellar, his helmet cracking the Mizarian's nose in a spray of blood. "The human spirit will never be conquered," he roared back. "We'll fight you to our last breath." Kellar staggered back, shaking his head to clear the stars from his vision. Adam pressed the attack, plasma sword flashing as he battered at the Mizarian's defenses. Kellar gave ground step by step until his back slammed against the bulkhead. He barely got his blade up in time to block a downward slash that would have split him in two. Gritting his teeth, Kellar shoved back against the human's weight, but Adam was relentless. With a final, desperate lunge, Adam hooked his blade around Kellar's and wrenched it from his grip. The plasma sword spun away, deactivating as it clattered to the deck. Adam's blade snapped up to hover a centimeter from Kellar's throat. The Mizarian froze, hardly daring to breathe. This was it. The human would finish him and strike a devastating blow against the Empire's military leadership. But to Kellar's shock, Adam didn't land the killing blow. Instead, he leaned in until his helmet almost touched Kellar's face. "This is just the beginning," he growled. "The humans are coming for you." Then Adam slammed his helmeted forehead into Kellar's face again, knocking the Mizarian out cold. He spun away, mag boots clanging as he sprinted the final few meters to his waiting freighter. The airlock cycled shut behind him as Adam threw himself into the pilot's seat. A quick burst from the thrusters dislodged his ship from the warship's hull, the cloaking field shimmering as he pulled away. Mizarian fighters swooped and dove around the dreadnought, searching in vain for any sign of the intruder. In seconds, Adam had left the Mizarian flotilla far behind. He set a course for the nearest rebel outpost, his thoughts already racing ahead to the battles to come. His message had been heard across the galaxy, the first spark of a revolution that would burn the Mizarian Empire to ashes. The Mizarians thought themselves invincible, but they had no idea what they had started. The human spirit could never be conquered or contained. From this day forward, every species would rise up as one to overthrow their oppressors. Adam's fight was far from over. It was only just beginning. Adam's audacious broadcast reverberated across the galaxy like a thunderclap, his words igniting the spark of rebellion on 1,000 worlds. News feeds crackled with reports of uprisings on planets long thought pacified under Mizarian rule. Beings of every species took to the streets, tearing down the emblems of their oppressors, armed with newfound courage and the battle cry of the human lives. Zephyrus became the epicenter of the revolution. The once ruined cities thrummed with renewed energy as its inhabitants emerged from hiding, rallying to drive the last vestiges of Mizarian control from their homeworld. Whispers spread of the fearless human rebel who had defied an empire and lived, a legend that grew with each retelling. But the Mizarian Empire would not crumble so easily. Though cracks spread through its foundation, it still commanded vast armies and unmatched firepower. The Emperor himself tasked Kelar with one purpose: destroy the human called Adam, no matter the cost. Stripped of his command and burning with humiliation, Kelar threw himself into the hunt with single-minded obsession. He scraped together a crew of the most ruthless killers and mercenaries from the dregs of the Mizarian fringe, beings who cared nothing for glory or empire, only the thrill of the kill and the promise of ample reward. With an armada of stealth cruisers and assassin droids at his disposal, Kelar set out to scour the galaxy for his prey. Meanwhile, drawn by the fires of rebellion, beings from across the stars flocked to join Adam's cause. He found himself at the center of a ragtag alliance, beings of every shape and hue united by a common dream: freedom from Mizarian tyranny. Among them was Zrix, a Zephyrian youth with a brilliant mind for machines and an uncanny gift for infiltrating even the most secure Mizarian networks. She sought out the human rebel, determined to offer her skills to the resistance. When Zrix demonstrated how she could hack the command codes of an entire Mizarian battle fleet with just a few lines of script, Adam knew he had found an invaluable ally. Together, they began to plan a series of strikes to cripple the Mizarian war machine. Zrix would slice into the Empire's systems, laying bare the schedules of supply convoys and the rotations of repair yard shifts. The rebels would strike hard and fast, destroying shipments of fuel cells and sabotaging reactor cores before vanishing like ghosts. With each raid, the rebels grew bolder, even as the Mizarians' retribution turned more brutal. Entire settlements suspected of harboring resistance sympathizers vanished in the blink of an orbital bombardment. Kelar authorized the use of bioweapons banned centuries ago, unleashing swarms of flesh-eating nanoviruses on planets that dared to defy Mizarian rule. But for every atrocity, 10 more flocked to join the rebel cause, enraged by the Empire's cruelty and emboldened by the legend of the human rebel who would lead them to victory. The name of Adam Gray became a prayer on the lips of billions. Deep in the bowels of a captured Mizarian dreadnought, Adam pored over star charts with his inner circle, searching for any vulnerability to exploit. Zrix interfaced with the ship's systems, her eyes flickering beneath lids etched with circuit-like scars, sifting through terabytes of stolen data. "Every empire has a breaking point," Adam said, his gaze hard as he traced the lines of hyperspace lanes and fortress worlds. "And I think I know how we can bring this one to its knees, but it won't be easy. It'll take all our ships, all our people." He turned to face the beings gathered around him, human, Zephyrian, a dozen other species whose names he was still learning. The weight of leadership, of the millions who now looked to him for salvation, settled heavily on his shoulders. I won't lie to you. Even if we succeed, not all of us will live to see the aftermath. But if we can do this, we can free the galaxy. Forever. Are you with me? Zrix looked up from her calculations, meeting Adam's eyes with a fierce grin. Around the room, rebel leaders straightened their spines and lifted their chins, a low growl of assent building to a deafening roar. Adam allowed himself a tight smile, but he couldn't ignore the cold knot in his gut. He knew with a leader's instinct that this war would soon reach its endgame, a final desperate gambit with the fate of the galaxy itself hanging in the balance. For the first time in his life, he wasn't certain if even human resolve would be enough. The final battle raged across the surface of Mizar Prime, the Mizarian homeworld. Rebel ships swarmed the skies, trading fire with the planetary defense cannons as dropships disgorged hundreds of freedom fighters onto the streets of the capital. At the head of the rebel charge, Adam and Zrix advanced through the chaos, plasma rifles flaring as they cut down swathes of Mizarian soldiers. "We're almost there," Zrix shouted over the din of battle, her cybernetic eye whirring as it fed her tactical data. "The Imperial Palace is just ahead." Adam nodded grimly, reloading his rifle with a fresh power cell. The weight of the galaxy's hopes rested on their shoulders. This was their chance to strike at the heart of the Mizarian Empire and end its tyranny once and for all. But as they approached the palace gates, the ground suddenly heaved beneath their feet. A series of deafening explosions ripped through the rebel ranks, hurling bodies and debris into the air. Adam was thrown to the ground, his ears ringing, his vision filled with smoke and fire. "Zrix," he called out, scrambling to his feet. "Zrix, where are you?" A cough answered him, weak and wet. He stumbled towards the sound, his heart hammering in his chest. There, lying amidst the rubble, was Zrix. Blood bubbled from her lips, her cybernetic implants sparking and sputtering. No, Adam muttered, dropping to his knees beside her. "Stay with me, Zrix, we're going to get you out of here." But Zrix shook her head, a sad smile on her face. "It's too late for me," she rasped. "You have to finish this, Adam, for all of us." Her eyes flickered and went dark, the light fading from her cybernetic eye. Adam let out a wordless howl of grief and rage, his fists clenched so tight that his knuckles cracked. Zrix had been more than just a comrade in arms. She had been his friend, his confidant, his partner in this desperate struggle against the Mizarians. But there was no time to mourn. The palace gates loomed before him, mocking him with their impenetrable armor and bristling gun emplacements. Kalar had laid his trap well. The rebel assault had been shattered, their forces decimated by the hidden bombs. Adam rose to his feet, his face a mask of grim determination. He would finish this even if it cost him his life. For Zrix, for the billions who suffered under Mizarian rule, for the future of the galaxy itself. He charged forward, plasma rifle blazing as the palace guards opened fire. Bolts of searing energy crackled past him, but he didn't falter. His gravity boots carried him up the walls of the palace, into the heart of the enemy stronghold. The halls of the palace were a maze of twisting corridors and opulent chambers, but Adam navigated them with single-minded purpose. He blasted through locked doors, cut down Mizarian guards with ruthless efficiency, always driving deeper into the heart of the palace. At last he reached the throne room. The massive doors swung open, revealing Kalar himself seated upon a throne of polished obsidian. The Mizarian commander rose to his feet, a cruel smile on his lips. "Welcome, human," he said, his voice dripping with disdain. "I've been expecting you." Adam raised his rifle, but Kalar was faster. The Mizarian's hand flashed to his belt, activating a personal shield that shimmered into existence around him. Adam's plasma bolts splashed harmlessly against the crackling energy field. Kalar laughed, drawing a wicked-looking plasma blade from his hip. "You really thought it would be that easy? You humans are so predictable." He lunged forward, his blade slashing through the air. Adam barely managed to dodge the blow, rolling to the side and coming up in a crouch. His rifle had been knocked from his hands, skittering across the polished floor. The two enemies circled each other warily, trading blows and taunts. Kalar was a master swordsman, his every movement precise and deadly. But Adam fought with the desperate strength of a man with nothing left to lose, matching the Mizarian blow for blow. "So you fight well for a primate?" Kalar sneered, his blade locked against Adam's own. "But you are no match for the might of the Mizarian Empire. We will always be your masters." "Not anymore," Adam growled through gritted teeth. "Today the galaxy will be free." Kalar's eyes widened, and he staggered back a step. Adam pressed his advantage, hammering at the Mizarian's defenses with renewed ferocity. But Kalar was far from beaten. With a snarl of rage, he unleashed a flurry of blows that drove Adam back, forcing him to give ground. The human's back slammed against a wall, the breath whooshing from his lungs. Kalar loomed over him, his blade poised for the killing blow. But as the Mizarian's arm descended, Adam's gaze fell upon a familiar object lying amidst the rubble nearby. It was Zrix's datapad, still intact despite the chaos of the battle. A desperate plan formed in Adam's mind, a final gambit that could turn the tide of the war. He dove for the datapad, his fingers closing around it just as Kalar's blade sliced through the air, where his head had been a moment before. Adam rolled to his feet, his fingers flying over the device's interface. "What are you doing?" Kalar demanded, stalking forward with murder in his eyes. "You cannot hope to defeat me with that toy." But Adam wasn't listening. He had found the program he was looking for, a virus that Zrix had been working on for months. A virus designed to disable the Mizarians' mind control implants, the insidious devices that kept their slaves in line. With a final triumphant keystroke, Adam uploaded the virus into the palace's computer systems. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, all around them, the Mizarian guards and officials began to scream in agony, clutching at their heads as the implants that had enslaved them for so long were finally deactivated. Kalar stared in horror as his soldiers fell to their knees, their weapons clattering to the ground. He turned back to Adam, his face twisted with rage and desperation. But it was too late. Adam was already moving, his fist slamming into Kalar's jaw with a satisfying crunch. The Mizarian stumbled backwards, his blade falling from nerveless fingers. Adam pressed his advantage, raining blows down upon his enemy with all the strength and fury of a man fighting for the fate of the galaxy. With a final crushing blow, Adam sent Kalar tumbling to the ground. The once mighty commander lay sprawled on the polished floor, his face a bloody ruin, his eyes glazed and unfocused. Adam stood over his fallen foe, his chest heaving with exertion. The sounds of battle had faded, replaced by the distant cheers of the rebel forces as they stormed the palace. The Mizarian Empire was crumbling, its power broken forever. "It's over," Adam said, his voice heavy with the weight of all he had lost. "The galaxy is free." But even as the rebels celebrated their hard-won victory, Adam knew that the fight was far from finished. The Mizarians may have been defeated, but there would always be others who sought to oppress and dominate. And as long as there were those who threatened the freedom of others, Adam and his fellow humans would be there to stand against them, no matter the cost. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.